VinylCast.
Think you're getting something special. But at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be my taste buds maybe aren't that sophisticated, but the one tonight was quite interesting. It was quite good. It was a Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, but not the usual. Hello, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Hello there.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Hello.
Good, good.
You obviously joined us. I don't know if you heard, Graham was talking about Sauvignon Blanc, and it was all very middle class for a moment there.
It's all very highbrow.
I got a big,
And then I joined in
Jen.
downhill.
Well, no, I got Corona glasses delivered the other day, and there's water in it. I'm afraid. I'm really sorry to say at this stage. Might have one later.
Water for me tonight. I can't wait till I get
A tea for me.
a pint of draft beer.
Oh, I know.
Well, that's the thing.
I know everybody's been saying that.
We used to steal glasses from pubs in the days gone by. Now we've got to buy them.
Aye.
Well, welcome to Jen Sloan. It's a privilege to welcome our first lady to VinylCast, which is episode 7. So it's great to see you. Obviously, Jen, who you married to Scott, and obviously loving mother to 2 lovely daughters, Alex and Melissa. So we can wave to them if they're going to watch this. Obviously, this is the big moment for them.
They'll watch it later. Bit embarrassing for them at the moment.
Those of you that are going to watch this in the future day will find out that she's an incredibly hard-working businesswoman, but as if this is not all enough, incredibly active in major charity events and initiatives halfway across the world, in Malawi, for all places, which we'll find out a bit more shortly, a bit later on. Most of us and most of people watching this will know Jen, obviously, from your day job, if we can call it that, managing, running and promoting one of the most wonderful live music venues and pubs called The Cave in Paisley. So over time, we'll talk about The Cave, but over time, The Cave's developed a real reputation as one of the West Coast's favourite local sports bars and particularly live music venues, which, and I know ourselves, every band wants to play in and looks forward to playing in over the years, as we have done with Vintage Vinyl, and we've seen many other bands play there, and you bring bands from across the world to play in, and it's fair to say in these unprecedented times that owning and running a business in this social entertainment environment and industry presents a bit of a challenge, but I think as everybody will soon learn, when has that ever phased Jen? So welcome, Jen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, actually. It's very nice to be here as well. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. So many things to talk about tonight, but if we may, we're really keen to know how you got into this business in the first place.
Many moons ago, Richie, as a child growing up, my mum and dad ran pubs throughout probably my whole life, to be honest. They ran pubs and down in Newcastle. When I was old enough, I worked in them, and then I went and got one myself down in Newcastle with my now husband, Scott. We ran that down there for a year or 2, and then decided we would move up to Scotland to be just a change of scenery, just to move up. So I went out to the pubs for a few years, and then went back in to a few pubs, and then eventually went to Paddy Malarkey's. I was in there for 10 years with the Bold Fergus, if you all know Fergus. He's a typical Irishman, brilliant guy. I worked in there with him for 10 years, and unfortunately the brewery took Paddy's back, and it was no more, and I just missed it. I just missed working in the pubs, just missed it so much. So I got my own pub again and worked and got the Cave, and the rest, shall we say, is history.
When did you take the Cave on, Jen?
We've been there 4.5 years now, so So 4.5 years ago, it come up. Somebody had told me that they were looking for a new landlord. So we inquired into it. And Fergus came with us in the first place. But then he's moved to Thailand, so he's gone back to Thailand now. We just went for it, and it's just everything has just happened amazingly. Yeah, I work hard, but it's so it was written in the stars. It's just turned out so well, so good with the band, so good with everything. It's just been amazing, you know. And Scott and myself run it with all the staff, and the staff are I couldn't do it without them. I have to say, I could not do it without my staff. My staff are my number one. They're brilliant. They're brilliant people. Just amazing. So it's been great. It's been great 4.5 years, and I'm hoping, despite this lockdown and despite this coronavirus, I'm hoping we'll go on a lot longer.
You're here.
To wait and see.
I mean, obviously, you moved to Paisley for obviously a wonderful football team in the weather. But apart from that, I tell you certainly earned your stripes in Newcastle, working in the pub trade, because I think many of us have enjoyed a few nights and weekends down in Newcastle. But you must have seen some hilarious sights. That sets you up pretty well for handling most sorts, doesn't it, in the pub game?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were a little pub just outside Newcastle. We were in Gateshead. I'll say it the polite way, the posh way. We were in Gateshead, and we ran a pub there. It wasn't one of these, can you call it modern day kind of bright lights, and I don't know, we'll say bright lights. It wasn't one of those. It was a kind of, as I call these pubs, wipe your feet on the way out kind of pubs. Typical old man's pub, just fantastic, you know. Everyone in there is a character. Everyone is just amazing. They come in for the community. They don't come in for, well, they come in for their drink, obviously, but they come in for the community. They come in for, and that's what I wanted to run it up here in Scotland, because it was so good down there. I made so many friends, keep in touch with so many people. It's, you know, it's just great. It's just great character building.
Did it take a while to build up the sort of regulars in the cave once you opened it up, or did they already gravitate to that pub that was their local already?
I've got two kind of regulars. That sounds really silly, but I've got my during the day regulars, which are my guys who go off to work, come in from work, have a couple of pints after their work, go up the roads. I've got them during the day, and then I have my now music regulars, which that's just skyrocketed. It's just gone crazy. It's just amazing. I mean, a few of the daytime regulars will stay a little while on a Saturday for the bands, but it's more, you know, more so my music regulars are new people to the pub.
Cave's got a really strong connection to Paisley, obviously, and over the years it's well known as, I mean, I think Graham Thompson knows this well with his rather famous son that played for St Mirren, and I think it's got a really strong connection there. But obviously, like Graham said, you've built this up over the years into a really good live music venue. I think there's a lot to say with what you've done. It's not an easy crowd to sort of mix, is it, when you've got sort of sport and then you've got live music, but you've done it really, really well. And we, even when we've had the privilege of playing there, we've noticed it's almost like the tide comes in and goes out with different people during the day, which is lovely.
It's great that way. I mean, you've got your Champions League football on, and, you know, the finals on late at night. So what we've been trying to do is all the boys would come in for that. They'd want to see the Champions League. So we mixed it in with the music as well. So the music would come on after it. And almost every time there is, and this is not a word of a lie, almost every time there's a big game on in the pub, Jim Keeld is always booked afterwards. It's always Jim Keeld, and it's not on purpose. It just happens, and we have a laugh now.
His agent organises that, I think.
I think so. I think so. Every time he comes in, what football match is on today? And I remember one of the last, I think it was Malawi Day, and St Mirren were fighting relegation. And so we had the Malawi Day, band day, and we had the St Mirren match. So I had the St Mirren match at the front of the pub, right down at the front door, and I had Malawi Day going on, and it was blackout. that were playing while the penalty shootout was going on, and we still laugh about that today. It was hilarious. They were trying to sing, and the penalty shootout was going on, and it was just. But it was great. Everyone just thought it was absolutely amazing. It was so good.
It's lovely. I love that mix of football and music.
Yeah, we always leave that television on for you guys if you just want to see it, and turn the telly off behind yourselves, obviously, for you playing. But we always leave that one on for anybody to have a little peek at, like you say, sports, whatever's going on. So
yeah,
so it's always a good mix.
We were talking about the music, and over the last 4 years, you've built it up so that you've now got the music. Well, you had the music on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. During the week, there might have been a jam session or something on. So lots of bands and a big variety of music. Did that just happen, or because obviously at the beginning it might just have been on a Saturday, and then you developed it from there?
It just took off, Graham. I can't even describe it. I always wanted live music when I ran Paddy's. Always wanted it, but couldn't have it because there was flats upstairs. So when we went into the cave, and there's no neighbours, so it was fantastic. No neighbours, so there was nobody to bother. You could put the music on as much as you want. So I said, right, what we'll do is we'll start it on a Saturday once a month, and I think I got 2 months out of that, and it went to, oh, can we come and play on a Friday? I said, right, we'll give it a try. And then the customer said, why don't you try and put something on a Saturday early on, so we've got somewhere to go. Right, okay. So we put it on the Saturday, and then the Sunday happened. It just took off. It was, customers asked me, I give it a try, and it's worked. It's worked so far. It was amazing. It just took off. When we first started, I had The Gift was the first one we had in there, and Splendid Gentleman.
Yep.
And then I think people were just seeing those kind of folk being in there, so they contacted me to come in. So what I do is bring them in, and if the customers like them, they stay. It's not kind of up to me what, who I bring in and who I don't. It's up to the customers. So the bands they came to me. I've contacted a few, but I would say most of the bands have came to me, and a few of the bands have said, oh, just try this person, try that person. So, and it's just, I mean, you get phone calls, you get messages, you get text, emails, you get messenger, all these ways that can contact you. These bands will contact you, and I don't mind one little bit. I don't mind. If I can book them in, I'll book them in. But the diary fills up so quick these days, so quick. But it's amazing. It's amazing, all of it.
Owning a bar or pub and the challenges that faces, but music being such a large part of it. But I think going back, you probably fill us in a little bit. You made some investment in there going back a year or two, didn't you? You remodeled the stage, and you actually put a bespoke area in there for bands to play. And that's where you have an edge over a lot of other pubs, because as musicians and people that play in band, having that space that for the band to play in is as much important for us as it is for the punters. But you've invested in that, so I mean that you probably did that. Is that correct? About a year or two ago, you did that.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago. So we done that. To be honest, the reason we done that was we were sick of people falling into the bands, or standing on equipment and breaking wires or whatever. It was just, and I just thought, if they've got like even a small step, that might stop them. But I have had a few casualties of them falling over the step as well. So, but yeah, we've put that in, and it's worked out really well. It's worked out so much better.
Sign of a good night. I think if people end up on the stage accidentally, I think that's usually a good thing.
Yeah.
So obviously you talked about your team, and it's probably important to talk about. So yourself and Scott obviously seen around the pub a bit, isn't it? And then there's probably others you want to give a shout out to that have worked with you over the recent years.
Oh, all my staff, any member of staff I've had in there, they're all been amazing. They have all been amazing. I had a few come with me from Paddy's, they come down to work pretty well, but then they, as I call it, they get proper jobs, and they go off and they work and, you know, and being a proper adult and stuff. So what I say to my girls and boys are, you work with me for a little while, and then you go and do something that you want to do. You go out and you get yourself a career and you do what you've got to do. But they all love it. They tell me they love it anyway. That's what they tell me. And I've had one of my daughters was working with me for a little while there as well, and she's gone off and got herself a proper job as well. So, you know, it's great. It's just my staff I'm at, you know, I couldn't do this job the way I do it without my staff and the hubby as well. I mean, he's in there, we work opposite shifts. That works out better when we work opposite shifts. So much better. So we've worked, just all worked so hard in there. It's not just been myself, it's been everybody that stepped in that door. The bands are just fantastic. They come in, they do what they've got to do. They love it. I'm sure they love it as well. It's like a big family, and we all work so well together, and I just love it, and I hope it continues.
Jen, can I just say, the reason why it's amazing, and they would all agree, and the reason why they're all great staff is because they've got a great boss. And it's simple as that, Jen. That's what makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. I think.
So, don't be modest.
I think if you look after your staff, they'll look after you. Mm-hmm. You know, and I treat the girls and the boys, I call them girls and boys, you know, they are a lot younger than myself, but I treat them the way I would want to be treated myself in a job. So, yeah. And I think that works every time.
Definitely one of the first moments I remember of really playing, got one of the first gigs that we did for you, the charity event that you were involved with, obviously. And we did have the privilege of kicking that off. Graham introduced us to this wonderful individual, Jen, who runs the cave, and then obviously where she finds the part-time to do this, but then this charity that you're involved with. So talk to us a bit about this Malawi charity.
I love working for the people of Malawi. I love doing things for them. So much so now, after being there, it's just been amazing. So my friend Stevie McAllister came to me a couple of years ago and said, can we do some charity event? I'm going over to Malawi. I'm going to build classrooms for the kids. We're going to, you know, go there for 2 weeks. Taught me all about it. Go for 2 weeks, build the classroom as much as you can, do things for the kids, take things over for the kids, and just, you know, make as much money as possible. So we came up with bands from Malawi, which we were doing twice a year, one in May and then one again in about November time we do it. When I went over last year, the reason I went over, somebody dropped out, somebody couldn't go, so they asked me if I would take their place, and I said, right, let's go, let's do it. So I did, and I'm so glad I did. It was fantastic just to see the way these people live and to see how happy they are. It's out of this world. There's just, they have nothing compared to our children. They have nothing. They have no phones. They have no, you know, sometimes they don't even have a ball to play with. But these kids will greet you. They will smile with you. They will laugh with you. They're just amazing. They give you cuddles every day. Every time you go to see them, they just want to give you cuddles. And they're just so grateful for what you do. And I come back feeling amazing. I felt amazing, not for just doing the job, but amazing to meet these people. I could never ever imagined meeting people like this. Never imagined seeing what I saw over there. It was just absolutely fantastic. So the bands from Malawi Day is, I love doing it. I love doing that. It just, because you know you're raising the money. You're asking people for money all the time, you know, basically. But you know this money is going straight to these people. It's going straight into their pockets. It's not lining, you know, governments or anything else. It's going straight into these people's pockets and getting things for these people that they need. It's not they want them. They need these. They need these things. So it's just amazing. amazing. So I love bands from Malawi Day, and I love how all the bands want to be part of it. And I think this year if it had happened, I was going to try and squeeze 14 bands in this year. So I don't know how well that would have worked, but I was going to try it anyway.
It's a shame, isn't it? It didn't happen.
I know, but I mean, I've done a little bit of fundraising, doing a hamper on Facebook. So I've done that for them this year, and I mean, this is money. The fundraising for this is for us to go back next year. So I'm hoping that, you know, we'll be able to go back next year. It'll be round about July time next year. So I'm hoping by then we would have raised enough to go. That needs to be discussed with the Malawi team, but we'll just have to wait and see. So.
Jen, and when you went, there was other young people went with you from Paisley as well?
Yes, so it's run by Renfrewshire Council. Renfrewshire Council run it, so there was a lot of Renfrewshire Council people, but they wanted to put it out to kind of the rest of the public. So we had, I think there was, how many of us? I think there was 16 of us went over, and most of them were younger than myself. A lot of, you know, Renfrewshire Council workers, and we took over wee Hannah come over with us. She works for us in the pub. You'll know wee Hannah. She come over with us. So it was just so good. It was just so amazing.
An amazing thing to share, Jen. An amazing experience for young people to take part in something like that. I think in many respects possibly quite life-changing. Just as you said, to realise in a sense how much we've got and how little they've got, and yet they can be so happy with so little. I think it's an incredible experience, and I think, you know, if you could ever encourage young people to get involved in something, older people too, it would be to do something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the young ones we took over, you know, at first it was like, oh my goodness, no internet, but then it was just, they loved it. They loved every second of it. They were dancing with the children. They were, a couple of them were doing classes with the children. And I remember the day 2 or 3 of the girls took bubbles down to the village, and they blew bubbles for these kids. And honestly, you would think you were giving them gold dust. They just absolutely loved it. And I've got a few videos of that, and they were one of my favourite videos of that, of seeing how happy these children were with these bubbles. It was just amazing. And the young kids, you know, we would get back to the hotel at night, and the young kids would sit and cry, and they would be like, oh my goodness, you know, what a day we've had, kind of thing. It's something that they would never do at home, because it's unfortunately not our way of the world at the moment, is it? So,
No.
I've been once, which was last year, but we the pub sponsors Stecker, which is he doesn't like it to be called an orphanage, but it's a wee orphanage where the kids go for safety, you know, if they've been found on the street, left as a mum and dad or bad to them or whatever. So these kids, this guy called God Knows, great name, fantastic man, absolutely fantastic guy. He takes any child in and looks after them. I think at the moment he's got 74 children in this house, and I mean he still works. He gives them all an education. He's absolutely fantastic. So we've kept in touch for the last two and a bit years with God Knows, and he actually come over to see us just before lockdown there, and he sends us pictures of the kids. He keeps us updated. He'll contact us on Messenger when he can, and he'll tell us about the kids. One in particular, little Patrick, who we say is our little star. He was in the village, and his mum and dad went around and things, and Stevie McAllister got him into Stecker, so he has become our little mascot. and to see him grow and flourish is absolutely amazing, you know, and it's all down to God knows doing this.
And what is Patrick now, Jen?
Patrick, they're not quite sure how old he is, you know, but we think maybe about 7 or 8 he will be now. So, and when he went there, he was only maybe 3 or 4. So, and he's done so amazing. He's done amazing. You know, he's great, and God knows his sent. There's a lot of kids over in Edinburgh University. I think there's 2 up in St Andrews, and
wow.
I think this kids come over. I mean, the school fees to send a child to primary school over there, it costs us something like £1 a month. You know, it's crazy, but to them it's an absolute fortune.
Yeah.
So we try and we sponsor them and send over money every month as much as we can. So we do that as well for them. It's just beautiful to see the kids just absolutely thrive. It's so good.
Yeah.
And if it's just while we're talking about Malawi, Jen, if people watching this wanted to make a donation, and obviously it's outside of the bans from Malawi, but is that something they're able to do through the year?
Yes, definitely. If they just contact myself at the pub, via any which way you can, you know, Facebook Messenger, whatever, or contact, if anybody, I think everybody in the planet knows Stevie McAllister, works for the council. He will set it up as well. We've got a bank account that goes straight over to them. So, like I say, the money goes straight to them. So, they can contact me at all. Every little helps, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Every little helps. £1 a week, £1 a month. It puts one child into school.
It's an incredibly heartwarming story, and actually, it's lovely to talk about something like this, which has been a little bit strange times recently. And actually, so talking back to things, pubs and clubs and the entertainment sector. So, few mutual friends in the business, obviously, and a friend of mine, Fraser Campbell, who owns the trust in Kilbark, and so it was a dark day today for lager and beer drinkers, because he literally had to empty the beer cellar down the sink today, and I'm sure that's probably a story that you've faced yourself recently.
Yeah, we've my husband keeps putting that part off for obvious reasons. He doesn't want to tempt you down the sink, but it's the only way we can move forward and get the breweries to kind of help us out here. So yeah, that's the next job. We need to put the beer down the sink, but it's awful, and it has happened. But in the large scheme of things, you know, if it didn't happen, then, you know, how many more would be dead and how many more would have coronavirus, you know. So yeah, we'll take that, but we just hoping to get back to some kind of normal shortly, you know, some kind of, you know, community. Yeah. That's what I think everybody needs, because mental health, I think everybody will be struggling with the mental health at the moment. And I think the quicker we can get back to the community pubs, to the community meeting up, seeing your family, seeing your friends, I think it'd be for the best for mental health. But
yeah, and you're absolutely spot on. So a lot of people use the pub, and particularly the cave. It's maybe their one and only social interaction of the day, actually. Yeah. Even if it's to get out of the house for an hour or two, it's incredibly important. So just on that, what kind of information and support or guidance are you getting with regards to maybe getting the wheels turning again?
Well, we've got, I think yesterday evening it come out that possibly pubs could be open again on the 15th of July, which is great timing for me, because that's my birthday, so I'll be back to work on my birthday, which is fantastic.
And stadium. Like myself.
So they said we could be going back, but they have not stressed about this 2 metre rule. This is the whole thing that I think every publican is worrying about. A 2 metre rule will not work. It just won't work. If we can get down to a metre rule, then possibly we could work, but a 2-meter rule, you're going to have maybe, 10 people in your bar at one time. How do you have a band in for that? How does the band play to 10 people? It's just, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. I mean, we will try our very best. We will do what we can moving forward with it, and we will stick within restrictions. We're already doing a little bit of work in the pub just now to get things back, up and running. We're obviously going to have a total clean down, but we're refreshing paintwork and stuff at the moment. So hopefully we can move forward with this and take what the government say and do what we have to do, and hopefully it'll work for the government and everybody else and us. We just have to wait and see what comes, what will happen.
Yeah, challenging times ahead. I think you're not alone, and there's many other establishments and pubs and clubs and restaurants that are looking at how they can do it. We've spoken about it at length as well, because from a band perspective, it's going to be a challenge for 4 and 5 pieces to stand in a square meter area that's technically appropriate. But I imagine there will be an opportunity for solo acts and duos to still create a bit of background music and a bit of an atmosphere if we have to. If it has to be done in step basis, then like you say, safety is important first. The other thing you've got, obviously, you're an incredibly caring employer as well, and it's putting staff in amongst that environment. I know that would be at the forefront of your mind as well. So yeah, I think that the meter rule, I can see a meter rule in Glasgow and Paisley on a Friday, Saturday night being a challenge to enforce once a few drinks have been partaken. But yeah, I think this is probably one of the challenges they're going to have to overcome. But clearly, music seems to be at the forefront of your mind. It's still something you want to continue with.
Oh yeah, definitely do. But it's like you say, it's going to be challenging because you having to, do these rules and that. I mean, I know we've got a stage, but the stage isn't that big for. I mean, the 5-piece fit on just, so to do a 2-meter rule, I mean, I'd have one at the door, one in the next to the gents' toilet, one on the stage, and one at the top at the cellar. So it's going to be, it'll be challenging, but
I think Jen, everybody wants it to work. We so much want it to work. So everybody that's got involved, whether it's musicians, bands, duos, whatever it is, everybody's got to work hard to try and get things back up and running. Everybody's got to give and take. Everybody's got to be part of it to help, and because it's so important going forward. And I'm sure, in the course of time, I don't know how long, I'm sure in the course of time, we will get there and it will work out. I really do feel that, because the spirit's there, the appetite's there, it's what everybody wants. So that, surely that driving force will get us there, hopefully before too long.
Yeah, hopefully it just gives people that extra drive to do that. I mean, I think at the moment everybody's so fed up, aren't they? They're so fed up with, like, right, this needs to be over, we need to get out. And a few people are maybe going out and going, sod it, we're going out now, we're doing it, but we need to just remember we need to be safe. We need to keep everybody safe. Everybody that walks in that door needs to be safe. So we will do whatever it takes to keep them safe. Whether it be 2-meter rule, 1-meter rule, whatever, we will do whatever it takes. So.
Yeah, and we know you will, Jen. So, and we look forward to coming back, even if it's just to stand at the bar and have a beer. We look forward to doing that. So one of the things we normally do in these is we move on to the music section. So I would imagine you've had a lot of songs over the years. So I'm going to introduce our esteemed quizmaster, and we're going to test if you listen to these bands.
It's the Vintage Vinyl Big Quiz.
Well, tonight the quiz is going to be a little bit more cheesy. There's nothing wrong with a cheesy quiz. And Jen, what you have to do, you could just shout it out, raise your hand, do what you like, but just get in there. Don't you be ladylike and hanging back here. Right, the first question is a golden oldie. In which decade did Elvis have his first UK #1? Which decade?
60s.
50s, I would have said. 50s.
Correct, Jen.
Yay!
1 point to Jen.
Well done.
Crazy in Love was the first solo #1 for which singer?
Beyonce.
Well done, Mr. Mackay.
That was way too obvious. I was going to say that.
I was thinking of an older song,
She's
you know.
easier
Oh,
the
so was
better
I.
for me. I'm catching with a chance this week.
Right. Who sang with the Wailers?
Bob Marley.
Good.
I was about to say that.
Well, Jen sneaking in the lead here. That's 2-1. And I know you're going to make a late charge, Graham. So.
Some sort of charge would be good.
Okay. Everything I do it for you.
Brian Adams.
Well, about which hero?
Robin Hood.
I
Hey.
think Graham got it, did he?
He did. I
He
think he
did. Okay, it's 2 to Jen, and
How many weeks at #1 for a bonus point?
19.
14.
16.
What
But, hey,
was
well,
it?
right.
No.
Don't know. We'll Google it and put up the answer.
You got a point, that's all that matters. You got a point.
No, off the starting point.
Right. Which former EastEnders and Heartbeat star had a hit with Every Loser
Berry.
Wins in 1986? Nick Berry, Graham.
Oh, it's
Oh.
the memory's starting to come now.
Well,
Yeah,
it's now 2 to
that's it.
Jen, 2 to Graham, and 1 to Richie. The pressure's on.
I can't believe you got that, Graham. That's shocking.
Right, Ballroom Blitz came from which sugary sounding group?
Sweet.
The Sweet. Ah, well done, Richie.
Done.
So that's 2 each. Which Harry was Without You in 1972? The big hit, Without You.
I can't
That's the one.
leave.
Second name.
Tony,
Belafonte.
I don't have a clue.
Right, it was Harry Nilsson or Nielsen.
of course I won't.
Nilsson.
Half a point. Did I get half a point? No. For singing it badly.
Who left her 2 group members and sang I Only Want to Be With You?
Twiggy. No.
It's an old question.
Oh.
Twiggy.
You did before her time, Graham.
Uh,
I could
first
sing it.
name was Dusty
Springfield.
Dusty Springfield.
Yes.
Oh well, I don't know if I should give you that one, but I will.
No, don't give him it. Are we still on 2 points?
No, we're all on
Harsh.
isn't it?
Okay, here's one. Who sang with the Mamas?
Tapas.
Correct, Jen.
I thought it was too easy. That
Right, that's 3 to Jen, 2 to Graham, and 2 to Richie. Okay. Who had hits with When I Fall in Love and Stardust? Who, Jen?
No, not that King Cole then.
Yes. Did you say Nat King Cole?
one. Dead.
Who did?
King Cole, yeah.
Was
I
it you,
did.
Jen? Well
Me.
done. Okay,
Yeah,
that's the answer. So I think you're romping away with this.
Oh,
I think that, in fact, was the last question.
Well
So
done.
tonight, the winner
Yeah,
of my cheating
well done.
quiz is Jen.
my goodness. I don't know how I managed that.
Yeah, we are becoming wonderful at looking after our guests, aren't we, Graham? In fact, your question.
Is that what
Did
you
you-
do when you just give me a chance?
Did you tell him your record collection before you came on tonight? That's great. Well, thank you, Jen, for spending some time with us tonight.
Yes.
Obviously, you've taken on some major challenges in the past, and I'm sure you're going to come through this incredibly strongly. So there's a lot of love out there for the cave and for you and the staff, and
Mhm.
I'm sure there'll be a queue a mile long waiting to get back in there when we open up again. So I think just one final thing from me. You've obviously seen a lot of bands playing there, and I've just got one question. What's the song you've heard the most or the one you'd hate to hear again?
Oh, there's a few I've heard a lot of. Oh, I don't even know. I couldn't say it off the top of my head, to be honest.
I think we could
Just
probably
be
give you a list.
Yes.
We could give you a list that we don't want to
Highway to Hell,
replay again.
probably.
Sorry, Angus.
Score that off the list. Get that
I
off
think
the
I
set.
can finish with that one, Jen.
Mustang Sally, is that another one?
That's another one, yeah. Mustang Sally, yeah.
I'm sure Sweet Home Alabama and a few others are probably in there as well.
Well, Jen, here's to you, Jen, and here's to the cave, and all the best. And we hope to be seeing you before too long.
Thank you very
Absolutely,
much,
Jen.
guys. I hope to see you all again soon, and please stay safe.
You too.
Stay
Thanks
safe.
again.
We'll see you again soon, all right? Thank you very much
Jen.
for having me
Cheers.
on.
See
All
you.
right. Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Podcast.